Hey folks, Elaine Marolakos Edelson saying hello, AstrologyMojo. Come and join me. We're going to be talking today about a couple of things, but one in particular, and let me share the screen so that you can see what I'm talking about. Okay, there it is. Hello, I'm down here. All right, so Jupiter recently entered the constellation of Cancer, and it will be there for a year, as it typically is, and through the end of June 2026. And when any planet, oh, by the way, the planets don't do anything to us. We live in a cooperation with the cosmos. When you make a move, it's reflected in aspects and angles in a chart. You are not a victim. Okay. So, what's coming up now that we're going to be talking about through July 4th is something very interesting. And aside from the sun being in Gemini right now, we're looking at Jupiter. In fact, let me just get rid of the sun so that we're not distracted. Oh, can't do that. Okay, sorry. That's a screenshot. So, Jupiter in Cancer today, June 12th, is 0 degrees and some minutes. And then it is conjunct Mercury. And Jupiter is going to be squaring Saturn and Neptune through July. Not thoroughly Mercury, but mostly Jupiter. But right now it is. And what does that mean? Well, I mean, the question really is, are you distracted? Are you defiant? What is your modus operandi right now? And you might feel torn during this time, not because the planets are doing anything to you. Well, first, let me break it down. Jupiter represents expansion, spirituality, publishing, different cultures, travel, contracts, the law. And in Cancer, it has more to do with nurturing and nourishment and setting a standard for care across the board in any topic. Are you caring for yourself physically? Are you caring for a family? Do you care about your business? Do you care about your neighborhood, your community? Do you care about politics? What do you care about? And how are you expanding on that care? That would be the Jupiter essence. And Neptune represents ideal vision, dreams, living in the ethers, metaphysicians, the arcane oracles, but also science and the vision to create something and combining both spiritual and physical to make that thing come true. Now, Saturn represents the structure. Let's call Cancer, the sign of Cancer, the energy that embodies the home, the family, the four walls. That includes real estate and all the connections between. If Cancer is that, which is the opposite of Capricorn, which Saturn rules, Saturn is the structure. Saturn's the foundation. It's the building. It's the house. And then Cancer is the energy in that house and how people participate or not. If there's defense or cooperation. So Saturn being touted as the one that's in denial and or ambitious. And both Neptune and Saturn, which are considered karmic planets, and dharma is the path, karma is the action on the path. So are you aware of what you're doing and thinking? Are you aware of it? And I threw in thinking because Mercury dealing with communication, synapses, perspective, and your beliefs is a loose square right now. It's moving out of it. Uh, and so whatever you believe, you'll create a scenario or physical matter to go with that belief. So what else could you be doing right now? What could you be thinking that helps you to alter the plan? Because with Neptune and Saturn both in Aries, it's a go get 'em, So, but the combination of everything is like you might feel torn. It's like, oh, should I wait or should I do it now? Your desire for emotional safety or the push for personal action and the temptation or the temptation to drift into la la land. Like, I know I have all those insurance papers to fill out, but I just want to watch a movie. I mean, who doesn't do that? Or with Neptune involved here, it could be feeling so much pressure. I'm going to write to every senator and I'm going to protest at the front of the courthouse and I'm going to, so it's like, what does your ideal vision entail and what kind of action, you know, are you taking or not taking? So what does this mean for the collective? Well, you might feel torn between diving into a creative dream and or meeting your deadlines with military precision. Got to get it done by tomorrow at 8. And then pushing so hard that you then have to stop and go, I need a bottle of wine or an edible to get over that pressure. So we have to find the nurturing and the care. That's what this is showing us about ourselves. You got to watch the extremes. Seriously, you just have to watch those extremes because they are not going to serve right now. That's where we come from anyway. We come from extremes, holding it all in, trying to tough it out, and then losing our minds or our cortisol shoots to the roof, and then we have adrenal fatigue, things like that. We're already living in extremes. So now it's about becoming aware of the moment that you would like to facilitate a resolution, a solution, and not feel disparaged or not feel distraught. A healthy action to take. No zealots right now, okay? We've had enough of that. Or do you feel like you have to push yourself to the limit and then overindulge in, isolation or eating a lot of sugar? Conversations could blur between now and July 4th because a lot of people are undergoing, oh, how should I say this? What should I do? How do I do it? But it feels more in your face. It feels more prevalent right now because we always go through that on some level, right? It's like your inner voice is saying one thing, but then the part of you that just wants to let there be peace on earth and let it begin with me. And I'm just going to go watch all the Avengers movies right now and then nap, so we just have to be careful of the thing that pushes us. What's our motivation, really? And the decision making, let's just hang back a sec before we forge ahead or hide for a week. We got to watch the extremes. Jupiter in Cancer. Let's look at that as the part of us that leans toward feeling into it. How you're presented with a proposition. I got a phone call. It's been several times I've gotten this phone call, and I just thought I've been hiding from it. I know I've just been like, I don't want to deal with it. And I got a phone call about, do you want to switch your life insurance? So I thought, well, no extremes, Elaine. So what can I do? Well, I set the meeting. I answered the phone and I set the meeting with the gal. And I said, I made it convenient for me. And I said, I'm not going to commit to anything, but I'd like to hear what you have to say. So that's the Jupiter and Cancer part. It's like, let me nurture the possibility instead of going to the extremes of like locking the door and shutting the lights so nobody sees you except you. And you have to face something. And I have to face life insurance. And I was just like, okay. But we can do this. And it's not that hard. So, or you might feel like, or it could be a collective feeling of ambition. It's like, I've been working on this for 7 months, 7 weeks, 2 days. I'm tired. I'm done, and you have a need for concrete results and that hard work that you put into it. It's like, maybe you just like make one more change, tweak that one thing. Let me just talk to that, have that one more meeting. But that's the Saturn and Aries part of us. It's not the planet doing it to us, but that's the part of us that says, let's just get on with it already. All right, let's just do it. Let's just jump. Okay, but the key phrase for this time phase, oh my God, time frame. The key phrase for this time frame is to embrace the pause. Now, if you get my emails, I wrote about this as well. And you want to feel like it's okay to pause and think about something, feel it through. How does it work for me? Will this help me expand? What are the ramifications? I will not be rushed into an answer. And if anybody comes to you and says, it's now or never, a confused, in marketing, the term, the phrase is, a confused mind will always say no. So if you want to enact something that feels true, you must feel it out first. That's just the bottom line. So ask yourself these two questions. I think this will help. Where do I need more emotional truth about this topic? Someone comes to you and says, I saw your son, your teenage son over there doing this. Really? Oh, he was at, soccer practice, or he was at a friend's house. Are you sure? And so before you jump to a conclusion, you want to have a calm conversation to discern the truth, right? And then the second thing you want to ask yourself is, what actions do I need? Or how about this? Wait a minute. What actions reflect my truest values, not just my routine? I'm going to get out of the habit. So what actions of mine reflect my truest values? Well, in order to know that answer, you got to list your values. What do you value? I value communication, honesty, support, and yeah, those are my top. Really, if someone says, "Oh yeah, I'll call you back," and then it's 3 months later, that doesn't build trust with me. Right? So I know what I value. I value me. I value the love that I give to myself. I didn't always. I value really great, nutritious food. We're 100% organic. We are 99% chemical free. Maybe I eat 5 sugars a day, and that includes some lactose free half and half and 2 strawberries. I value health. So, and that's across the board. Healthy relationships, a healthy relationship to my body, to my mind. If I feel myself pushing beyond my limits, I'm going to take that Gemini phrase that I only use for Gemini, sun, rising, and moon, and I share it with everybody now, every sign, doesn't matter. I'm done. It's not done. That means I've reached a limit. Something still needs to attention or has to get done. Now, of course, if the building's on fire, if the baby needs feeding, you do that, because that's, you run away from the building or you nurture the child. But when you're just hanging out thinking, oh, I have 16 things to do. Really? Do you? Okay. Is that your checklist? Well, maybe do 2. See how you feel. And that's not, right. Listen to the judgments that come up into your brain. That's where Mercury will play a role. It's like, oh, I feel obligated. Mercury in Cancer. I feel obligated. So does Saturn. Not Saturn so much in Aries, but Saturn. I feel obligated. I should have done that. Oh, God. And then you do it with an attitude like, all right, come on, hurry up. Let's go. No. Why? No. Let's be kind to ourselves and others and just be honest and say, I would love to do that, but right now I'm so tired. Our neighbor is fostering puppies. And my husband and I were like, oh, when can we come over? And so we go over twice a day to feed them. She's up every 3 hours for the past week. So she has like all the neighbors come in, they're taking turns except the 11 o'clock shift or the 2 a.m. shift. And the part of me that just sees her exhaustion and says, oh my gosh, all right, I should probably go over at 11. It's like, you're in bed by 9:30 and for good reasons. So let's not go beyond our threshold. All right, folks, remember the 2 questions to ask yourself between now and July. And next week, we're going to be talking preliminary about Uranus, the planet Uranus, moving out of the sign of Taurus and into Gemini. And then the following week, we'll do an oracle reading. And then the first week of July 3rd, I believe it is, that Thursday, we're going to do Uranus in Gemini for each of the signs. So please join me. And remember to share, like, and subscribe. I mean, as technology changes, I try to keep up. And right now, Facebook will be eliminating any video on my business page that is older than 30 days. So if you didn't catch it in the last 30 days, just head on over to YouTube, Elaine Marolakos, Edelson, AstrologyMojo, and you can catch it there. Okay, but the 2 questions to ask yourself regarding Saturn and Neptune in Aries squaring, which is a 90-degree uncomfortable, like, what is that? Something's trying to get my attention. I need to heal it. I need to pay attention. And through July, squaring Jupiter in Cancer. And right now it's squaring Mercury in Cancer, but that's going to change soon. So 2 questions to ask yourself. Where do I need more emotional truth about this topic, issue, situation, dilemma? And what actions reflect my real values and not just my routines? And of course, you need to know what your values are. So please take the time to go in and check on yourself. Look in the mirror and say, gosh, I feel so embarrassed looking in the mirror. I started doing mirror work after I read Louise Hay's You Can Heal Your Life when I was, I think, 26. I'm 65 now. And when I did that, her big exercise in that book was go do some mirroring. And so I went to the mirror in the bathroom and I looked into the mirror and I was embarrassed. I was ashamed to look in the mirror. That's the first thing that came out of me when I was 26 years old. Why? It was not easy. So I made it a point to go in every day, sometimes twice, sometimes 3 times a day, and look in the mirror and say to myself, hi, I know you feel embarrassed. I would just name what was coming up. That was it. I would just validate what was coming up. That's self-nurturing. You got to start somewhere, folks, or nothing changes. It's not about them out there in the world, what they're doing, not doing. It's about you and who you are being, because everything is a vibration. Everything is energy. Matter, the physical form, happens last. So by the time it becomes, like an illness, by the time you catch a cold, you've already had the germs brewing in your body, and then drinking soda, smoking cigarettes, or whatever else you're doing and it's not a judgment. It's a fact that it will lower your immunity. So think about what you want to do for yourself and the actions you would like to take, but not head casing between what's in it for me. I don't like these people. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. Our kid signed up to do some art residence in Europe, and they applied and they did not get the job and they were devastated. And I said, honey, what was on your list of things to do? Hi, Sasha. Yes. Got to keep the positive vibrations going. Okay. Yes. Let me just add to that. If you are in a crap mood because life has just piled up on you and you've not eaten, what are you going to do? I'm sorry, what? You're going to eat. You're going to nurture and nourish yourself. Jupiter in Cancer is just the exemplification of that. Nurture, nourish. You're tired? Hydrate. Take some electrolytes without sugar. Key Nutrients has that. Ultima has that. Look for coupons because they're kind of pricey. I always look for coupons. I was born and raised in Newark, New Jersey. We are coupon people. Okay, so if you're feeling crappy, you can't go from crappy to happy with just oh, wow, I'm so grateful. It's not going to work. That's just false, right? So you take incremental steps and you find neutral. So you go from less than neutral, which might be sad, depressed, angry, disturbed, and ask yourself, what does my body need right now? Well, I haven't eaten. There's blood sugar involved here. We must pay attention to our biology, folks. I just had, 2 beers with some friends after work and I have a headache. Okay, hydrate. That's it. That'd be just so simple, right? And then from there, check in with yourself. How do I feel now? Well, I feel a little bit better. Okay, it's getting better. There's a great key phrase. It's getting better, not it's getting worse. Because whatever you focus on will grow. That is the law of the universe, folks. I'm going to pull a card right now. So our kid didn't get this gig in Europe and they were so upset. And I said, honey, what was on your list? And they said, well, the job entailed, I was going to go and start writing my graphic novel and drawing. And the job entailed 5 hours a day on a farm, feeding chickens and goats and, cleaning up the barn. And I was like, okay, well, you can always reapply, or there are other places. And I know that you feel disappointed, but what else is going on in your life? Let's focus on neutral to positive. And they did. And within a week, I'm so proud of Aaliyah. And within a week, they got a friend of a friend called them up and said, I know this family and they live on the outskirts of town on a farm. They have 2 children. My kid did 2 years of preschool teaching. And they have a 9-month-old and a 4-year-old. And the dad's an artist. So is my kid. The mom's a physicist. My kid loves to learn science. They want to discover a new plant that has not been discovered. And when they told us that, and they are looking for someone to help out. Now, not just nanny care a couple of days a week, but the family was going to go out. And so Aaliyah did meal prep, clean the house, fed the chickens. They live on a farm, fed the bunnies and the goats. So I said, do you see what you just manifested? Your desires became real and you didn't have to fly to Europe to do it. And it earned you the money to pay the bills so you don't have to worry, to free up your art time so you can focus on your graphic novel. I am so proud of you. And folks, this is what you can do too. It's incremental. And Sasha says, doing my best to not get caught up in the chatter and staying positive about what could go right. Congrats to your kiddo. Thank you, sweetie. Yes. Right? How about neutral to positive? We go there. If we're feeling anything less than neutral, negative, we go from negative to neutral. And what does that look like? You're fuming. You can't just stop it. You can't, you're falling off a building. You can't just stop and go, oh, right, wait, I'm going to be positive and land on something cushy. Laws of physics. Not going to happen. So, while you're feeling that, start the new dialogue. You're furious about something. You're worried about something. You're sad about something. Okay, feel the feelings, and then slowly, incrementally bridge in your mind to something neutral. Oh my God, I can't believe she said that. That pissed me off so much. All right, I'm just going to take one deep breath right now. Just one deep breath. And you take a deep breath and then you look out the window and you go, oh my gosh, look at that blue jay. I love that color blue. And then your mind, being your mind, that's the way the human mind works, and the amygdala goes right back to, because it takes this is a fact about your brain. It takes 3 positive thoughts to counteract 1 negative one. Okay. So then your mind goes right back to, okay, what a biatch. I did my best in that. Oh, okay, wait. Let's take a deep breath. That happened. Let's put it into the category of, okay, that happened. Now we're not so specific, because the more general you can go, and I learned this from Esther Hicks 30 years ago, and her channeled collective of Abraham, a collection of spiritual beings. So the more general you can go, you start to ease and you start to let go of the thing that does not serve you, the judgment, the anger, the whatever, the self-abuse. And then you notice something else. You know, I love those new sheets and I got them on sale. I'm so grateful that I found them. And they were the last ones. I'm so lucky. I'm so lucky. I'm so grateful. And then it doesn't bounce back to the intensity so much. And then you start to create this little bridge towards something neutral, negative to neutral, neutral to positive. Okay? Right? And then you ask yourself about any situation, where do I need more emotional truth? Like if somebody asked me once, I met her, she was a metaphysician and she did workshops and yoga and stuff. This is a long time ago. And she 2 weeks later gathered all the new people that she had met in this metaphysical world that I lived in Montclair, New Jersey. And she said, all right, I would love to go into business with each and every one of you. I brought a contract. And I was like, I met you 2 weeks ago. I can't just jump into bed with you. And she said, I married my husband 2 weeks after I met him. And I said, well, I'm not your husband. And I have to think about this. And I was so disturbed on the inside. It felt like tangled weeds with thorns. That's what it felt like. And I couldn't put my finger on it. So I went to a friend at the time and I said, this is a situation. What do you make of that? And she said, well, that's her way of doing business. And she tried to back it up with, I married my husband 2 weeks after I met him. But what's your You're having a reaction. I think some part of you knows something that isn't logical, that there is no proof of. And I said, I believe that that's true. And so I declined her offer to go into business. And 1 year later, of all the people who did go into business, they lost money because of her business tactics. So you need to trust that little voice inside you that says something's off. And I just need quiet time to find it. And if you have to go into the bathroom and lock the door and put headphones on and listen to, quiet music or brain waves, neuroplasticity music or Joe Dispenza or Louise Hay or whoever, and just feel, that's the Jupiter in Cancer. You're allowing it to expand. That's the part of us that we allow to expand, to nurture. It's like, okay, I don't have my finger on the actual reason, but I just know that me and this person or me in this situation, we create a kinetic energy that does not equal happy. I'm not happy. I don't feel safe. I don't trust this thing. So if you don't trust it, back away. Create little bridges, negative, neutral to positive. And when you do that, you will then make space for someone you can trust. That's how it works, because then you're vibing more positive. You're vibing, and it's not just, oh, I'm happy, I'm happy, I'm happy, when you're not happy. My father said to me once a long time ago, Elaine, it's better to be, and he was a vegan. And so he said, Elaine, it's better to be a healthy carnivore than a depressed vegetarian. Thanks, Dad. I thought that was brilliant. I thought that was a brilliant statement, because I have come back to that statement in my head over the years and I've applied it. It's like, are you a depressed vegetarian in whatever? Not just food, but it's like, you're working on this job. Are you a depressed vegetarian or a happy carnivore? It's like, and I have been vegan. I've been vegetarian. I've been, carnivore, short of being a breatharian or a fruitarian. I've been all of them. So in finding what's healthy for me. And I would laugh at the times when I was vegan or vegetarian and I was in a situation, a friendship, a business situation, a freelance job. And I would say to myself, okay, Elaine, what did Dad say? Are you a depressed vegetarian or are you a happy carnivore? And it's like, I'm a depressed vegetarian. So I would make a change. So whatever it is that helps you to smile, to use as like a kernel of wisdom, do it. Where do I need more emotional truth between now and July 4th? Because when Uranus moves into Gemini, we're all going to start to feel like, that's it. What? No. We'll talk about that next week. And then the second question is, what actions reflect my real values, not just my routines? And then, of course, you need to know your values list. What do you value? Honesty, friendship, support, love, metaphysics, intuition. What do you value? I value my team and spirit. All right, folks. So that's what all this represents in us. Now, for some people, depending on where this happens in their chart, like if you see this and you go, oh, I'm a Cancer rising, then it's about your first house. So, wherever Saturn and Neptune in Aries are squaring Jupiter, not so much, let's take off the Mercury because that's fading away. Oh, I can't because this is a screenshot. Sorry. Let's take this one away. Just Jupiter squaring. It's the big red line. Where in your chart do you see this? Because that's where you feel most uncomfortable. What two houses does it represent? 90 degrees. And that means between three houses. So if you know that in your chart, if not, just look at your life. Where do you feel like everything we just talked about? And take it slow. Nurture yourself. See what helps. And I'm going to pull a card. And let's just get rid of the screen sharing. Okay. Thank you so much for being here. Please remember to share, like, subscribe, because that's what keeps the algorithm going. And I'm going to pull a card from the Universal Laws of Conscious Creation. It was gifted to me a long time ago. These are not in print anymore. I went looking for one. Somebody said, where can I get that? And I was like, I don't know. Let me see. And I found it for $100 on eBay. And I was like, no. But I was grateful that I had it. Lara Solara, Dana DuPoint, and Marlene Chapman. That's who put together this book. All right. A little support from our teams in spirit. And again, remember, next week, we're going to be looking at just the preliminary stages of Uranus entering the sign of Gemini for 7 years. And then the following week, on the 26th, we're going to do our oracle for July. So please come back and pick your image or images. Okay, right now, Jupiter in Cancer, support, best advice, best guidance and counsel, squaring Neptune and Saturn in Aries. Whoa. Okay. All right. It's the only way to go, really. Love. And it's a number 16. It's not focused. So it's a 1, me, 6, family, community. Just find the love. Where can I love? Where can I love? Even if you don't like someone, can you love something? Can you love the fact that they are an extension of light, just like you? You don't have to be their best friend. You don't have to invite them for dinner. You don't have to agree with them. Can you love that they are also an extension of light, just like you, creating their own reality? You may not jive with their reality. You may be so opposed to it that, it pushes you to hate or get defensive or angry. Can you just back it up and love that you are love, and love that they are having their own reality? And then you walk away. Love. All right, we're going to end on that note, folks. Thank you for being here. As always, I wish you peace, and I'm sending you so much love. And I'll see you next week, I hope.